So, ladies and gentlemen, the odds of someone talking to you right now, coming from a community of 100 people, and that person was named Best Sports Reporter, North Shore, New Brunswick, in the Maritimes in Canada, by judging panels over 30 years. I'm one of those rare champions. I'm not that good, but a real champion is Si Griffis. And you're saying, what does have to do with the Hockey Hall of Fame member, the two-time Stanley Cup champion? Well, Si came from Onaga, Kansas, and the odds of a player from Kansas, of a community of 250 people, winning 2 Stanley Cups in an ice sport, it's probably 50 million to 1. Now, Silas Seth Griffiths, born September 22nd, 1883, was a Canadian athlete of the early 20th century. In ice hockey, he was a 2-time Stanley Cup winner with the 07 Kenora Thistles and the 1915 Vancouver Millionaires. A 1915 inductee in the Hockey Hall of Fame, Griffiths moved with his family to Rat Portage, Ontario, where he excelled in many sports, including hockey. Now, notable for his speed, Griffiths played both rover and cover point in a 7-man configuration of the day. When the Manitoba and Northwestern Hockey Association formed in 1902, Griffiths joined the Rat Portage Thistles and led them to its first league title in 03, after which it issued a challenge for the Stanley Cup against the powerful Ottawa Silver 7, in which the Thistles lost a best-of-3 to Ottawa in 2 straight games. Now, a big drink of water, 6-win, 195, solid defenseman. The team's second league title under his tutelage came in 1905, along with another losing Stanley Cup challenge to the Silver 7. Griffiths scored a natural hat trick to lead the Thistle to a victory in the first game of the set and added a goal in the second. Now renamed the Kenora Thistles in 07, as the city had changed its name in 1905, the team remained a powerhouse, and Griffiths, along with fellow future Hall of Famers Art Ross and Tommy Smith, were key members of the Thistles' January 07 Stanley Cup winning team when he defeated the vaunted Montreal Wanderers in a 2-game total goal series, the only games the entire season which the Wanderers lost. While the Thistles defended the Cup against a challenge in March from the Brandon Wheat Kings of that year, the Wanderers issued a second challenge for the Cup later that month, which the Thistles lost. Now, after taking a hiatus of several years of the game, save for an unknown number of games for the Nelson Hockey Club of the West Kootenay League in 1910, Griffiths was signed out of retirement by Frank Patrick in 1912 as a defense partner for the Vancouver Millionaires of the PCH. Now, a noted leader, Griffiths was named team captain in 1915, the year the Millionaires themselves won the Cup. Griffiths unfortunately broke his leg in the last regular season match of that year and was not able to play in the final series against the Ottawa Senators. He recovered long enough, though, to play in 2 exhibition games for a group of PCHL All-Stars. Now, after Patrick's retirement as a full-time player and with Lloyd Cook as his new defense partner, Griffiths played 4 more seasons in Vancouver, although injuries started seriously affecting his play time by 1918. Nonetheless, he played effectively in the Millionaires' PCHA playoff win and his run as a finalist for the Stanley Cup that same year. Signed in 1919 on an emergency basis at age 35, he played only 2 games for Vancouver in 1919, as well as in its playoff loss that season to the Seattle Metropolitans. Being noted by observers as having little left, it was Griffiths' last professional action, after which he retired. Now, Griffiths was an accomplished rower as well, being a medalist in the 1905 Royal Canadian Henley Regatta. Now, in later life, Griffiths excelled as both a competitive golfer and bowler. He was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame in July 1950. He unfortunately died in Vancouver that same month. He's also a 1987 inductee to the Northwestern Ontario Sports Hall of Fame. Because of his dedication to hockey, his benefit was his strength on the ice. Now, standing at 6 feet 1 inch, he was the tallest player of his era, but he was nonetheless also one of his fastest skaters. Now, during the 13 PCHA season, on January 15, 1913, League Executive Frank Patrick organized a speed skating contest between 4 players considered to be the fastest on the PCHA. Si Ken Mallon, Fred Cyclone Taylor, and Ernie Moose Johnson. Before the contest, Griffis was confident regarding chances of winning it all due to his quick first steps, but in the final heat he was nonetheless beaten by Mallon, who had skated that year with the New Westminster Royals. He lost it by a slim margin. In the semifinals, Griffis had finished in front of Moose Johnson, whereas Mallon in turn had defeated Cyclone. Now, according to himself, I can get away faster than most of them, and they have to pass me, which is some feat. Of course, I'm going to win. Now, he did bet on himself on a speed contest, but lost. Now, due to his strong skating, which he used his advantage as a rover as defenseman, cover point, Griffis was a pioneering player in the art of carrying the puck up the ice from defense, instead of shooting or passing up the ice to the forwards, which had been the main practice during previous generations of players. Mike J., profiling Griffis in the December 30th, 13 issue of the Vancouver Daily World, also praised him for his endurance and recalled a game against the Wanderers in 2007, where Griffis had played through the contest with a broken nose, and where he was so badly cut up and used up that he could not remember anything from the game, even 6 years afterwards. So again, 1902 to 1905 with Rapportage, 2 Stanley Cup challenges were stopped. The reformed Kenora Thistles won the Stanley Cup in 2007, again scoring one goal in that contest. And of course, with Vancouver in total from 1912 to 1919, and the Stanley Cup in 1915. Now, final, what they call MHL or MPHL totals, 29 goals in 23 games. PCHA totals, 38 goals, 26 assists for 64 points, 2 points in the playoffs. And Stanley Cup, big 6 goals in the Stanley Cup. And of course, those big 4 counters in Rapportage's unsuccessful run in 2005. Now, was he the first defenseman to carry the puck into the zone? Well, there's no really evidence saying yes or no. So let's just say he, at 6'1", just like Larry Robinson and the big defensemen at the time, you look at Turnbull and Salming and all the active defensemen, he was a talent. Now, this is kind of weird, ladies and gentlemen. In the 1950 induction in the Hockey Hall of Fame, he has rarely been spoken about since. Even Brian McFarland, Stan Fischler, a few others don't really talking about it much. I was turned on to this guy many years ago because I would investigate what they call non-NHA or NHL teams that won the Cup. Now, there was a guy in Campbellton who was a historian for the Montreal Maroons, and I talked to him about that. He said, you got to check out this Si Griffis. Now, originally, when I used to Google it, I put in Griffiths, but Griffis. But can you imagine, coming from a small Kansas City town that's still in 2023 has less than 1,000 people, and you're the greatest athlete ever, possibly, of that era for a power defenseman. Amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, so the latest in our what he called Stanley Cup Vintage podcast, going way back. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Please listen to this before the Toronto game tomorrow night, because if Toronto loses again, you need to listen to something about a winner, not that somebody that's we're expecting to win and you constantly lose. I don't know if they can break the curse, ladies and gentlemen, but Si Griffis was a curse on the teams he played against. Thanks for listening. Bye.